a hip hop story. It's your new project.
I had to do a movie that just shined a light on what it was, because it ain't the same anymore. I try to come from the old head mentality with a lot of practicality. We weren't always together. We weren't all skilled. It's some dope young artists right now, and then there's some trash ones. I've been doing parodies for years, and parody is protected. It's a fair use situation. Saturday Night Live doesn't go and get permission every week to do a sketch about politicians or artists or, public figures. So it's just about, can you take a joke or not? Like, Russell is a big fan. Ghostface reposted my stuff. Freeway, like Nas, everybody, Jay-Z, they're all fans of me impersonating them. I did my own stand-up special. I independently produced it, and I partnered with Kevin Hart. This is back in 2019. I believe in not waiting on those calls to come in. I have the money to do it. I self-financed this movie, and it was a passion project. So I was just like, yeah, let's get down.
Welcome back to another edition of the Charles Coleman Podcast. You are tuned into our Black Brilliance Conversations. These are branded conversations where we are having discussions with movers and shakers in the culture. And today's guest needs absolutely no introduction. You've seen him on so many different things in so many different capacities. And I'm super excited to talk about his latest and greatest project that he's working on. Welcome to the virtual couch, my man, Affion Crockett is in the building.
What's happening, bro?
What's going on, bro?
Man.
Good to have you. Glad for you to be here. So much I wanted to get into it with you, but let's start with a hip-hop story. It's your new project. It is something that even in the trailers is hilarious, and it displays a level of creativity around who you are as a writer, who you are as an actor, who you are as a comedian that I think audiences are really going to love. So tell me about the project.
Man, it's a love letter to hip hop, to be honest, man. We all grew up with hip hop, you know what I'm saying? Like, literally we grew up with it, and we've seen all the changes. We've seen all of the comes and goes. We've seen people pass away. We've seen people die. We've seen awards that never were given out before. We've heard some of the greatest poetic lyricists ever. Some of the greatest beat makers, some of the dopest dancers. Like, the culture is such a potent, rich, full of beautiful life and beautiful people type of culture that I'm like, I had to do a movie that just shined a light on what it was, because it ain't the same anymore, right? And that's the old head mentality. But I try to come from the old head mentality with a lot of practicality, not just old for old's sake.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I can point to the ones that's like really uplifting the culture, then I can look at the ones that's actually harming themselves. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the movie is meant to just call out a few things in hip hop first, and then in Black culture. So it starts out at, the template is to point the finger at, young versus old. It's these young people that's not doing it right, right? But then as we go along in the movie, we start to understand that us old heads, we weren't always together.
Yeah.
We weren't all skilled.
Yeah.
It was some garbage MCs in the 70s and the 80s and 90s and all that. Well, in the 80s and the 90s, 2000s. And then we go into Black culture, how Black culture has affected hip hop culture, and how we all are responsible for the imagery and for the mentality that we are, putting out there into the universe.
I appreciate that, because for me, as someone who, like you said, same generation, grew up with hip hop, it's such a part of my DNA, and it's something that gave voice to my coming of age and our coming of age, because unlike any other generation before, as we are experiencing these things real time, hip hop and the music and the culture itself helped us make sense of our existence and how we were relating to our environments. And there's so many different things at that intersection that you talked about with respect to the culture and then Black America as a whole. That is a really big thing that I appreciate that you are exploring in the way that you are. it's funny. I had a conversation with a younger person, like 2 weeks ago, and he was like, "Yeah, when y'all was growing up, you had X Clan and Tribe and Public Enemy, and people were pushing messages and Jungle Brothers." I was like, "Yeah, we also had a lot of bullshit too. Like, don't think that this golden era of hip hop that existed and that is very valid didn't have its own elements of like, oh, this is trash." So I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, we have to say that, man. I think we get so on our high horse and we think a certain era was the best era, right? And everything about that era is great and was great. And when you just stop and think about it, it's like, nah, it's some dope young artists right now, and then there's some trash ones.
Yeah.
The same way back then, it was some trash ones in the 80s and in the 90s. I'm talking about straight up trash truck juice. Like, there was some bad rap out there. And so we got to stop. The movie talks about getting away from the ageism, and let's just talk about culturalism, Black unity, imagery that we're putting out. And this ain't just rap now. The movie starts talking about Hollywood and the movies and everything. So yes, it's less about the age and it's more about the skill set and the mentality that's going around, that's going out there.
So speaking of skill sets, you put one of your sort of very, very known skill sets on display throughout the movie in that you do a bunch of impersonations. You do Russell Simmons, you do Jay-Z, you do Cornel West, you do a bunch of folks, right? What I'm just curious, because these are people who have platforms, right? And they got lawyers and they got all kinds of other stuff. Did you have conversations with any of these folks like, yeah, so I'm about to do this thing and I might, impersonate you, or you just went and did it?
No, I just went and did it. I've been doing parodies for years. And parody is protected. It's a fair use situation. So Saturday Night Live doesn't go and get permission every week to do a sketch about politicians or artists or, public figures. So it's just about, can you take a joke or not?
Have you ever run into somebody who couldn't take a joke?
No.
Is it everybody? Okay.
Not to date, I have not. I've become the guy that's like, the hip hop Weird Al. Like, I've become the guy that they feel honored if I impersonate them. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. That's a cool one. So have you ever had someone who was like, yo, I saw the thing you did, it was hilarious?
Oh, most of them.
Okay.
Like, everybody, for the most part, everyone that I've been able to talk to, like Russell is a big fan. Ghostface reposted my stuff. Freeway, like Nas, everybody, Jay-Z, they're all fans of me impersonating them. So again, I think it's because, and when I did the Joe Budden podcast, he even said it. He was like, yo, Affion is of the culture. So he's the guy that can do this. He's a real rapper. He's a real comedian and he's a real writer. So it's like, why wouldn't he do this type of a project? You know what I'm saying?
No, that makes total sense. Like it's very different when someone who's already at the proverbial cookout, and I hate that term, but I'm still going to use it, starts roasting you versus somebody who, didn't really have an invite or got in on somebody else's pass. And now they trying to, that it's a very different situation. So this project, you have been in a lot of spaces around entertainment. And one of the things that I think is very interesting about you and very admirable is that in a world where people, I think, are struggling to manage and navigate and sort of seamlessly blend different platforms around their brand, you do things very, very well. You hit them and you do them well. You were doing the Wild 'N Out thing. You've done a ton of movies. You've done, you took advantage. You figured out a way to take advantage with my man Spice when you guys were doing sort of the things on the verses. Like, so you've really, managed to find a balance between those things. One of the things I think is interesting, though, is that you still tour and you still do stand-up. Was it more important for you to do this project, which is a whole movie, than, for example, to like have 3 Netflix specials or an HBO special or something like that? Well, you're
Well, that's a funny question, because the assumption is always that if you're a comedian that's somewhat known, that you should just have a Netflix special. You should just have an HBO special.
Hmm.
Those places are companies with executives. If they don't know you, or if they don't want you on their network, you're not going to have a Netflix special. You know what I mean? And we've been conditioned to just say Netflix, HBO, right? Because they're the big dogs in the stand-up special game. But at the end of the day, they're not the only ones. So I did my own stand-up special. I independently produced it, and I partnered with Kevin Hart. This is back in 2019 on LOL. LOL Network was the first. I was the first stand-up special that they've ever licensed. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So that's to address the one part of your question, as to, Netflix special or HBO special. The reality is they're not knocking on my door. So I'm out here doing my own thing.
Why do you think that is?
It's a game of politics. I've seen people on Netflix with stand-up specials that I've never heard of. So whatever nepotism or whatever, friend game or whatever handshakes they doing, it has nothing to do with me. I don't know. It's I love Netflix. I watch it all the time. I don't know, why I'm not on it. It's just, it is what it is. They have the LA Netflix specials, the Netflix comedy festival. They don't call me for that. I think I'm more of a quiet guy. I stay on the outskirts of the industry sometimes. I don't participate in a lot of the schmoozing and a lot of the other things, events. So I don't know. It just is what it is. It's nothing personal. It's just sometimes people gotta be where you are to understand who you are. Sometimes maybe they're just not aware. As much as I've done, sometimes people just aren't aware of who you are or what you can do or what you do. But anyway, why do the movie? Because for one, I believe in not waiting on those calls to come in. I have the money to do it. I self-financed this movie, and it was a passion project. So I was just like, yeah, let's get down. Let's figure it out.
No, I appreciate that as a larger model. And I talk about this with respect to some of the stuff that I talk about in the spaces that I'm in around Black America and who we are. A lot of times, and this is no shade to nobody, you get it how you live, and that's your lane, it's your lane. But a lot of times we spend a lot of time trying to sort of like advocate for a seat at somebody else's table, as opposed to realizing, I got some wood, I got a hammer, I got a saw. I'm going to mess around and build my own table. Maybe it may not be as big or as polished as that one over there right now, but it's mine. And I can control it, and I don't have to worry about somebody telling me to get up from their table because they gave me a seat. You know what I mean? So that model is a really important model for us as a people to adopt. And there's so many people who I feel like have given us the blueprint, but unfortunately, a lot of us still don't get it. You had, Cash Money when they started. You had Master P when he started. You had even, to a certain degree, even Russell, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, Russell, like these are people who gave you the breadcrumbs. They gave you the game Jay when they started Rockefeller. Like, these are people who kept showing you what the model was, and people, for whatever reason, have a preference or partiality to keep like begging for a seat at that other table. And it's like, you could, in the effort and the time and the money that you're spending, like you said, schmoozing, trying to sort of get in the game, trying to get people to recognize you and affirm you, you could have just really built your own shit and been dope. And so I appreciate that.
Yeah. So look, me shooting my own stand-up special was the seed that led to the stand-up specials that I just produced that are now on Xfinity. They just dropped days ago. Microphone Masters. Affion Crockett presents Microphone Masters. It's me introducing 3 other comedians. So I'm not waiting around for another platform to validate me. I'm over here on other platforms giving other comedians a voice. You know what I mean?
That's real. So, you built your own table.
Exactly, to your point. I'm going to always build my table. You can't take my food off my table. I'll beat your ass. You know what I'm saying? So I just don't have a problem with that. And it's at the same time, I don't have a problem going, if they offer me a seat, cool, I can go to that seat. But I know that I also have my own home and my own table that I've built and I could retreat to. But I don't have no problem rocking with them. I rock with them as well whenever that call comes in. But it's not a requirement for me.
Sure. It's not something that you're depending on. You're going to eat regardless. And I respect that.
I'm going to kill something and eat something.
Right. I'm going to hunt. I'm going to eat regardless. No, I respect that. Yeah. How do you find the balance between all of the different, because like right now, entertainment and specifically the genre of comedy is a very tricky space because you do have a lot of different outlets and platforms and vehicles through which you can reach different audiences. You can do sketch comedy on, TikTok or social media. You can do obviously stand up and tour and get your bag there. You can, there's so many different things you can do. You can do movies, you can do TV, you can write, all of these things, right? And you would put your foot in a lot of different arenas. By the way, you talked about people not knowing the stuff you did. Very few people may know this about you. I am a huge Family Guy fan. And the fact that you have done voiceover for Family Guy, I was like, that was for me one of the biggest, most interesting things that I read about your bio. But all jokes aside, how do you find the balance between all of the different outlets that someone can engage and do it as kind of sort of evenly as you do?
Honestly, I could do more because it gets overwhelming sometimes I'll be like, damn, I forget about YouTube. I got to get more active on my YouTube. I'm on IG pretty much most of the day because all my friends are there. So I'm checking in. So while I'm posting and promoting and doing all my things, I'm also tapping in with my friends and seeing what they're doing. So I just find a balance based off what's inspiring me. If I want to do something on TikTok, or if I want to do something, well, TikTok is racist for one. The algorithm is so racist, but I'll be on IG, Facebook, and I'll have my normal rhythm of posting there, and then I'll syndicate it to other things. But yeah, there's some more, like there's a podcast that I need to get started. There's a lot of things. There's more things that I could be doing, but my focus right now is getting the hip hop story to the world.
Yeah, you mentioned Kevin Hart, and one of the funniest things I think to date for people who are familiar with you or him is the roasting session that y'all had like some years back. This joint got like 3 million views on YouTube. It's pretty it's pretty funny. How did that happen, number one? And is there a possibility we would see a part 2?
We did a part 2. It didn't get as much noise because, the first one was during the pandemic and we was all outside. I mean, it was all inside. It was accidental. He hadn't been on IG Live for a while. So that was the day. It was Mother's Day. He just wanted to go on IG Live because he hadn't been on it in a minute. And while he was on there, he was talking to a lot of people. He was talking to Justin Bieber and Luda and Usher and just different people. And as he's talking to them, it's all of us are in the comments. And I sent some emojis or whatever, some laughing emojis. And as he was hanging up with Bieber, he's like, yo, let me see what Affion doing. And he tapped on my comment, logged me in, and I'm literally, as you see, I'm sitting there in a wife beater, just eating some steak bites, eating some food.
Right.
And so it just started. Me and him have always had that interaction. From the first time we met, we've always had the same interaction of we're going to talk cash money shit to each other. And we have it. We do it in a way, as you saw on that roast, where it's almost polite disrespect.
Yeah. That's why it's funny. Is because like it's one of it's a very specific sort of way of doing it that isn't the typical sort of way of roasting each other. There's a level of sophistication and nuance to it that actually makes it super enjoyable. Yeah, it's classy. There you go. It's
classy disrespect.
It's classy, but it's so disrespectful. Like it's classy, but it's so disrespectful. I think that's why it works so well.
it makes it more fun for me to do it that way because everybody gets,
Yeah. You are.
like, shut your ass up. Your mama's a and you just go in and just, that's cool.
It takes more. It's a better challenge.
Absolutely.
I just got one or two more questions before we get out of here, man. This has been great and super duper enjoyable. Because we grew up when we grew up, naturally, I am a huge fan of 80s action movies, and Beverly Hills Cop is at the top of the list. If the cat is not out the bag yet, we know that Axel Foley will soon be returning to the silver screen. Beverly Hills Cop, the new one, is currently in post-production. And you are in the movie and had an opportunity to work with Eddie Murphy. What can you tell me about your character, the role you play, and what it was like working with perhaps the GOAT, if not easily one of the GOATs in the comedy game?
Oh, no, he's the GOAT. He's the GOAT.
Okay. I say so too. Quite frankly, I do. I say so too because
it's not debatable.
Do everything. He can do everything. He can do skits. He can write. He can do stand up. He's done movies. He can act. He's done everything.
Look, for me, it's not debatable. Look, I don't talk about this because I don't know how much of the edit is made. I don't know anything. So I haven't said anything about this movie. And my role is very small in it, but my role is the same role that Chris Rock had in part 2, the valet guy. So, first of all, whenever I get the opportunity or the audition to work with Eddie, I'm like, yeah, there's you got to go through the hoops. You jump through whatever hoops you need to because you got to earn that. You got to earn that opportunity to work with him. But yeah, the role is small, but he and I started jousting during the rehearsal. I showed up to do my job. Basically, I gotta be funny, and I'm in front of the guy that is the benchmark for me. Mm-hmm. He's sensei. He's the Sifu. He's the guy. So I got to show up like a good student and just do my work. And they hired me to be here. I'm right in front of him. I'm playing opposite him. So I got to show up and do what I do. And he gave me the stamp. He was like, yo, even after the joint, because I'm friends with his family as well. Okay. So his cousin, Rich, texted me. He said, yo, this is a direct quote from Eddie. And he sent me the quote just talking about how funny. He said randomly, Eddie just was sitting around like, yo, that Affion cat is funny, man. He's a funny cat, man. Eddie told, man, that's a funny cat. But
yeah, we have Rich on the show. Rich is good dude. We have
absolutely. But yeah, that in short, I don't know how much of the scene is left in there. I got good indication that it's a pretty hot scene from one of the producers recently. But again, I can't confirm anything until I actually see it and it's released. Ironically, on Netflix, which, like I said, look, they gave me a small seat, but But I'm
at the table. Right. You're right.
I'm at the table with Eddie Murphy, so it is what it is.
Guest of Eddie Murphy? Yes, please. I'm not mad at that. Yeah, that's big work. Major work. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Last thing before we get out of here, man, we do something on the Charles Coleman podcast, and this is super appropriate for our conversation, called Hip Hop Life or Death Karaoke. So somebody calls you up. It's the middle of the night. They say, look, Affion, one of your family members, we got him. You show up, and they say, look, we're going to allow you, we'll let him go if you can get one verse from any hip-hop song, word for word correctly. One verse from any hip-hop song, word for word correctly. But if you mess up a single word, they're out of here. Mm-hmm. What song do you choose?
Biggie Warning.
Somebody else, a lot of people, you're not the first person to choose that. Somebody else is going. That's not an easy verse necessarily, though.
It's not easy, but for whatever reason, he wrote that story so precise that the memorize it. And I don't memorize lyrics often. I'm such a beat maker and a beat appreciator.
Yeah.
I've nodded to some of the illest songs ever.
And
right?
not paying attention to the lyrics.
I don't know. I'll know some catchphrases here and there, but I'm so into like shook ones. I know shook ones.
Okay.
To a degree. I know about 80% of shook ones, and I can rap along to it. But the beat is so. It's probably because I'm a dancer first, so the dancer in me catches the beat first.
Got it.
It catches that, but warning is who the fuck is this? Paging me at 5:46 in the morning, crack of dawn, and now I'm yawning. Wipe the coal out my eye. See who's this paging me and why? It's my nigga Pop for the barber shop. Told me he was in the gambling spot. Heard the intricate plot. Niggas wanna stick me like fly paper, neighbor. Slow down, love, please chill. Drop the caper. Remember them niggas
from the hill up in Brownsville that you rolled dice with.
Both got dice with. Yeah, my nigga Fame up a prospect. Nah, them my niggas now love with disrespect. Yo.
I didn't say them. They schooled me to some. Yeah.
When you was like a minor figure. Now they heard you blowing up like nitro and they want to stick a knife through your windpipe slow. So thank Fame for warning me because now I'm warning you. I got the Mac, nigga. Tell me what you want to do.
Absolutely. Hip hop is in our blood. It is part of our DNA. It is what it is, where we're from and who we are. Listen, man, so glad to have you on the couch. So excited for everything that you have coming down the pike. Let the people know where exactly they can find a hip hop story, because if you haven't seen it already, it's something that you need to check out. Watch over and over and over again. Share it, like it, tell a friend, and make sure that they are checking it out as well.
Yeah, we're still shopping the deal for it. We did a soft launch in AMC and we had a nice run there, but we're still shopping the streaming side and we may end up building our own table.
God bless. If you do, I'm the first to be at it and let folks know, look, this is what it is.
We're going to need everybody to rent or buy that thing. And it's going to be a game changer.
Yes, indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, another Black Brilliance branded conversation on the Charles Coleman podcast. This has been the one, the only Affion Crockett, and an amazing conversation. Thank you for joining me, my brother.
Appreciate you, my guy.